Sure. Here's a refined and more engaging version of your story with richer language and deeper emotional detail. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I have a story to share, one that changed my life in ways I never imagined. I never thought I'd be sitting here talking about the unraveling of my marriage, but when the person you love, the mother of your children, makes a choice so reckless, so incredibly selfish, it forces you to take a hard look at everything. Let me take you through what happened, how I handled it, and why, in the end, she was the one left with regret. When I married Joan, we spent long nights talking about our future, our expectations for marriage, and the kind of life we wanted to build. I was already financially secure, and we both agreed that she wouldn't need to work. We wanted our children to grow up in a home where their mother was always present, someone who could give them her full attention, nurture them, and be there for every milestone. I did everything to ensure she had a comfortable life. A beautiful home, financial stability, and even household help so she wouldn't feel overwhelmed. For 9 years, we built what I believed was a strong, happy family. We had 3 wonderful children, and after our third, we both agreed, this was it. Our family felt complete. Life had its ups and downs, of course. Disagreements, stressful days, moments when we got on each other's nerves. But nothing that made me question the foundation of our marriage. That is, until everything changed. It started subtly. Joan began stepping out in the afternoons without a word. I'd come home expecting to find her with the kids, only to walk into a strangely quiet house. No laughter, no warmth, just our children, waiting for a mother who hadn't told them when she'd return. The first time my eldest called me at work, I brushed it off. "Dad, Mom's not home. She's been gone a while." I reassured him, thinking she was just caught up in something. But then it happened again. And again. Each time, my son's voice grew more anxious, the calls more frequent. My child, just a boy, was being forced into a role no child should bear, watching over his younger siblings, wondering why his mother had vanished for hours. I started calling Joan the moment I got those calls, but my calls went straight to voicemail. When she finally answered, her tone was always casual, almost dismissive. "Oh, I just stepped out for a bit." No real explanation. And when I asked where she had gone, she'd brush it off. "Just out to get something." That was it. I tried reasoning with her. I told her it wasn't safe to leave the kids alone, especially our youngest, who was only 3. What if something happened? What if there was an emergency? But she barely reacted. "You're overreacting," she said with a shrug. "They're fine. It's not like I'm leaving them for the whole day." That was the moment I realized something had shifted. This wasn't the woman I married. The Joan I knew had once meticulously planned every detail of our children's lives. Now, she acted like they were an afterthought. And no matter how much I tried to reach her, she refused to see the problem. Then came the day that everything clicked into place. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon. I was home with the kids, playing in the living room. Joan sat nearby, scrolling through her phone, distant. After a while, she sighed. I asked what was wrong. At first, she brushed it off, but when I pressed, she finally spoke. "I feel drained," she admitted. "I love our kids, but sometimes I just feel trapped." The word stunned me. Trapped. I thought we were happy. We had built this life together. And now, my wife, my partner, was sitting across from me, telling me she felt stuck in the very life we had chosen. I tried to be understanding. I suggested we plan a family vacation, just the 5 of us. Maybe even bring a nanny along to help. A change of scenery, some time to relax, that's what she needed, right? But she shook her head. "No. I don't want a family trip. I want a girls' trip." That's when it all started making sense. She wanted to travel with her old friends. Friends I had seen on social media, women who lived wildly different lives. They were always out partying, drinking, jumping from club to club. Their Instagram pages were filled with pictures of them with different men in different cities. I felt a knot tighten in my chest. "Joan, I don't think that's a good idea," I told her. "These friends of yours. I see what they do when they travel. It's drinking, partying, and God knows what else. You're a married woman. A mother of 3. A trip like that sets the wrong precedent," she finished for me, her voice laced with irritation. The moment I said no, her entire demeanor changed. She became defensive, her voice rising with accusations. "You're controlling me. You don't trust me. I'm still my own person. I don't need your permission to live my life." It turned into a full-blown argument. She accused me of trying to cage her in, of not caring about her happiness, of making her feel like nothing more than a babysitter. I stayed calm. I told her I wasn't trying to control her, I just had to think about what was best for our family. If she needed a break, we could go somewhere together. But she wasn't interested. She stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind her, refusing to talk about it. And then, just a few days later, in the middle of a work meeting, my phone rang. The call came in the middle of the afternoon. It was the school. The moment I picked up, I could hear the concern in the teacher's voice. "Mr. Carter, no one has come to pick up your kids. We've been trying to reach your wife, but she's not answering." My stomach dropped. Joan was supposed to pick them up. She always did. My mind raced to the worst possible scenarios. I immediately called her, no answer. I texted her, no response. I called again, straight to voicemail. A cold wave of panic washed over me. I barely remembered telling my boss I had an emergency as I grabbed my keys and ran to my car. The drive to the school felt endless. Every terrible possibility played out in my mind. Had something happened to her? Was she hurt? By the time I arrived, my body was tight with dread. There they were, my children, sitting outside with one of the teachers, their backpacks slumped at their feet. The moment they saw me, they ran, their small bodies colliding into me with relief. "Where's Mom?" one of them asked. That was the question of the hour. And I had no answer. I got them into the car, my mind spinning as I drove home. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe she had an emergency. But deep down, I already knew. The house was quiet when we walked in, unnervingly so. And then I saw it, a folded piece of paper on the kitchen counter. I picked it up, my hands tightening as I unfolded it. Joan had left. Not just for a few hours. Not for some errand. No, she had packed her bags and gone on the trip, the one I told her was a bad idea, the one I had refused to support. She wrote that she needed this. That she deserved a break after years of being a stay-at-home mother. She admitted she knew I didn't approve. And yet, she went anyway. But the worst part. She hadn't even made arrangements for the kids. She just left. I had to read the letter twice because I couldn't believe it. My wife, the woman I built a life with, the mother of my children, had prioritized a week of drinking and partying over her own family. Anger surged through me, hot and overwhelming. But beneath it, a wave of relief. At least she wasn't lying in a ditch somewhere. That night, I barely slept. I kept turning over the same question in my mind. What was so important about this trip that she was willing to risk everything? Was it the drinking? The parties? The chance to relive her old life? And if so, when had our family become a burden instead of a priority? By morning, I had my answer. I wasn't going to waste my energy trying to understand someone who had made it clear where her priorities lay. She had made her choice. Now it was time for me to make mine. I called my boss and took emergency leave. There was no way I was leaving my kids vulnerable again. First, I hired a nanny to help stabilize the home while I sorted everything out. Then, I called a lawyer. I laid out everything, the letter she left behind, the school's call proving she had abandoned our children with no arrangements, the emotional toll it was taking on them. "You have a strong case," my lawyer said. "You can file for emergency custody." I didn't hesitate. Then, I made another decision. I froze our joint account. If Joan wanted to party in some beach resort, she wasn't going to do it with money meant for our home, for our children. She could figure out how to pay for her own selfish escape. Through it all, I documented everything. Every piece of evidence. Every call. Every emotional breakdown my children suffered because their mother had walked away. My youngest fell sick from the stress, crying for her every night, confused and scared. The older two weren't much better. My eldest, the most aware, came to me one night, his voice small and filled with pain. "Dad, why did Mom choose a vacation over us?" I had no answer. By the time the 7 days were up, things had already changed. The kids were adjusting. They had a nanny who showed up when she was supposed to. They were learning to accept the new reality. And honestly, so was I. Then Joan walked through the front door. She wasn't apologetic. Not even close. She threw her bags down, looked around, and then turned to me with a scowl. "The hell is wrong with our bank account?" she snapped. "I had to borrow money just to survive that trip, Peter. I expect you to pay me back for every single dollar I had to spend." Not a word about the kids. Not a single question about how they had been. Just outrage that her plans had been disrupted. I didn't react. I didn't give her the satisfaction. Instead, I reached for the envelope sitting on the counter, the one I had been waiting to hand her. She snatched it, tore it open, and then laughed. "Divorce papers," she scoffed, shaking her head like this was some kind of joke. "You're really this dramatic, Peter? Come on, you're not serious." She refused to sign, thinking I was bluffing. That this was just another argument we'd get past. But when reality set in, her attitude changed. She lawyered up fast, ready to fight. She tried to argue that I was controlling, that I had financially cut her off out of spite. She painted herself as a loving mother who just needed a break. But the facts weren't on her side. I had filed first. That meant I already had temporary custody. The kids stayed with me while the court sorted it out. Joan, on the other hand, was forced to move out. She bounced between friends' places for a while, but it didn't last long. The legal battle dragged on for months. Divorce cases always do, especially when custody is involved. Joan tried every argument. She claimed she had been the primary caregiver. That's when I pulled out the school records. The call logs. The statement from the teacher who had been forced to watch over my children when she disappeared. She argued she was just overwhelmed. I presented her own written confession, the letter where she admitted to abandoning them for a trip she knew I was against. Piece by piece, her case fell apart. And when the final decision came down, full custody was granted to me. Joan got visitations. Limited. Supervised at first. The day the verdict was finalized, she sat across from me in the courtroom, stunned. As if she never thought it would come to this. As if she never believed there would be consequences. She tried to pretend she was fine. That she was happy to have her freedom back. But I saw it. I saw the regret in her eyes. And when she hugged the kids goodbye that evening, I saw the way her hands lingered, the way she squeezed them just a little too hard, like she was trying to hold on to something she had already lost. Because in the end, it wasn't me who had to live with the consequences of her choices. It was her. The moment the courtroom fell silent, I knew it was over. Joan's lawyer had tried everything, claiming I was too busy with work to raise the kids, that I wasn't involved enough, that she had been the primary caregiver. But my lawyer came prepared. We laid out the facts in cold, undeniable detail. Call logs from the school, showing how many times they had to contact me because she simply never showed up. The letter she had left behind, the one where she admitted to abandoning our children for a vacation. The proof that I had to scramble for a nanny because she hadn't even bothered to make arrangements before disappearing. The judge didn't have to dig deep to see who was the stable parent. And then came the most important part, the voices of our children. By this point, they had already adjusted to the new routine. They had structure, security, a sense of normalcy. The oldest, who was old enough to fully understand what had happened, didn't hesitate when asked where they wanted to live. They wanted to stay with me. That was the final nail in Joan's case. The court granted me full custody. Joan was given supervised visitation, limited hours, strict conditions. No overnights, no unsupervised weekends. She was no longer their full-time mother. And that broke her. Without me supporting her financially, her life unraveled fast. No job. No savings. A mountain of legal bills from a custody fight she had already lost. She tried to demand spousal support, but the court didn't buy it. She was an able-bodied adult who had simply chosen not to work. That wasn't my problem anymore. She burned through whatever credit she had left, begged friends for money, but people quickly stopped answering her calls. Before long, she was drowning in debt. And that's when the regret hit. The text started first, then the calls. At first, it was anger. Accusations. "You ruined my life, Peter." Then came the guilt trips. "You're turning the kids against me. You're being cruel. We can fix this." And finally, the desperation. "I made a mistake. I never meant for things to go this far. Please, just talk to me." I ignored it all. Until the night she showed up at my door. Her face was pale, her eyes hollow with exhaustion. She tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Peter, can we talk?" I let her. I stood there, arms crossed, while she poured out every excuse, every desperate plea. I was overwhelmed. I wasn't thinking straight. I never meant to hurt you or the kids. I needed a break. But I see now that I went about it the wrong way. Tears slipped down her cheeks, her hands trembling as she reached for mine. I love our kids. I love you. Please, don't do this. I'll be better. Just tell me what to do. I let her finish. Then I reminded her of what she had said to me, not long ago, when she was still convinced she had the upper hand. You told me you were tired of being a mother, Joan. That you felt trapped in motherhood. She shook her head quickly, eyes wide with panic. I didn't mean it like that. I swear, I cut her off. Well, now you're free. No kids to trap you. No husband to hold you back. Her face crumbled. Peter, please. I took a step back. You wanted freedom. Now live with it. Go get a job. Make your own money. Take as many girls' trips as you want. That's what you wanted, right? She broke. Right there, on my doorstep, her hands covering her face as sobs racked her body. I didn't watch for long. I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. She had made her choice. Now, she had to live with it. Looking back, I know this wasn't just about a trip. It was about priorities. About respect. I learned 3 things from all of this. First, if a parent chooses fun over family, they'll lose everything. Parenthood isn't a part-time job. It's not something you can clock in and out of when it's convenient. Once you have kids, they don't get to be an afterthought. Joan made her decision, and I made sure she lost the privilege of being a full-time mother. Second, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I spent years making excuses for Joan. Ignoring the signs. She wanted the security of a family, the benefits of a stable home, but she also wanted the freedom to act like she didn't have a husband or kids waiting for her. The truth was right in front of me. People don't change just because you want them to. They only change when they want to. And sometimes, they never do. And third, never tolerate disrespect. The moment someone crosses that line, it only gets worse. The more you let them get away with, the more they'll push. The second my wife put herself above our family, I acted. And I don't regret it. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have handled it the same way? Or do you think I was too harsh? I want to hear your thoughts. Because at the end of the day, marriage is a partnership. Not a sacrifice for one person's selfish desires. And if they choose to walk away from their responsibilities, let them. Just don't be there when they come crawling back.